Okay. Well, welcome to the show. Mark, I lost Mark like usual. I think this is a normal Wednesday night. He's losing Mark for the first couple of seconds.
I'm here. I'm here. We started off the show with no technical issues yet again, Paul.
That's right.
I don't know, Marcus, can you hear me? It's the Paul, Mark, and the Tech Guy show. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
You're fantastic. On. Hey, it's a little bit sort of technical in studio too, but it's all good because it's our Wednesday night show. Paul, Mark, and the Tech Guy. It's a discussion between three blokes and.
Oh.
I tell you what, it wouldn't be the show without,
of course, our very tech coming up very, very shortly. Hey, big program this evening. Just before I introduce our guests, I haven't got any fallback here, but you know what? I'm just going to go and I'll live it. Before I introduce our guests this evening, which we're very excited about, coming up in the hour is our top 7 around 7. We've got a couple of wonderful music tracks we're going to be playing. We've also got the very awesome and very celebrated Mark's rant, which will be in the second part of the show this evening. And obviously, and also the tech guys are going to be doing something really awesome. So stick around with us for this hour. Check us out on Facebook. Comment, get behind the program, interact with us, and have a lot of fun with the show this evening. Paul, Mark, and the Tech Guy, 98.9 Northwest FM. We're here every Wednesday. We will be consequently taking a break for a couple of weeks, but we'll let you know about that on the socials. But I would like to introduce this evening Maya Pinn. Thank you, Maya, for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Good. How are you?
I can hear you.
Tell you what, Paul, it's great to have Maya here with us tonight. She's going to
Mark, you jump in there, mate,
because she's involved in so much different things, Julio. I think it's going to be another great show tonight. And Maya, it's fantastic to have you on the show. How are you going today?
Good. Can you hear me? Okay.
I can definitely hear you okay. Paul's got a few technical issues, but that's just part of the show here on 98.9 Northwest FM with technical problems. So we've got Julio here. He's the tech man, and it's a bit embarrassing when you've got the tech man on a show with so many technical issues. But what you're going to bring to the table tonight is going to help Julio out with some of these undiagnosed things in life. Undiagnosed. That's what we're talking about tonight. And Maya, just explain a bit about your life. Just tell us a bit who you are.
So I am a 25-year-old mum, student, and employee, alongside a few other little gigs such as advocacy. I first and foremost am my mum to 2 beautiful kiddos. So I've got a 6-year-old named Lloyd, and I have a 4-year-old named Elsie. And Lloyd is what we call a SWAN baby, which is he has a syndrome without a name. So he was diagnosed at 2.5 years old with a rare genetic condition called IQsec2-Associated disorder, which doesn't actually have a name. That's just the gene that has a mutation on it. So that's why we call them syndromes without a name. We went undiagnosed for quite a while, but he was actually born perfectly healthy. We didn't know anything was wrong. I had him when I was 18, and pregnancy was pretty smooth. I was with my ex-husband at the time, and he was thriving. So everything was fine. I was living with my sister and her little 1-year-old at the time, and her partner and my mum. And I sort of noticed he wasn't really picking up toys or like really interested in anything, although he was a very chill baby. So I thought I was doing fantastic. Other than a couple of sleeping issues, he was actually really chill, really easy. And I went back to study a Cert 4 when he was 6 months old. And he still, just over a certain amount of time, wasn't really, going through his developmental milestones, which they check at the maternal child health nurse. And at about 6 months, I brought this up and I said, look, he's not really interested in toys. He's sleeping quite a lot. But he was a chunky baby, so he was definitely growing fine. And the maternal child health nurse said, oh, we'll just wait a bit. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, she's she's like, oh, you're just a first-time mum. You know, everyone gets those jitters, you know, when they've got their first baby and you want them to be doing everything on time. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't think so, but sure. I've just watched my sister, who is a year older than me, have her baby, and I sort of like looked after her quite often. I was like, oh, no, Lloyd's a bit different. And I worked in aged care sort of through this process as well. And they were all like, oh, he's just a boy. So no offense, guys, but, you know, boys generally do things a bit slower than girls. Like girls grow first and then boys grow later on. But yeah, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know, this is a bit different. And so I went back to maternal child health at 8 months and I said, look, he's still not sitting or even trying to. He's not rolling. He's got good neck control and he's gaining weight. He's feeding well, but he's still sleeping tons. Like it's still kind of like having a 3-month-old baby. But again, I thought I was doing pretty well considering. And she was like, oh, yeah, it's a bit of a concern, but we'll just wait. And I said, you know, when you put a baby like on your lap and you let them sort of stand, but you don't let them take their full weight because their spine isn't fully developed yet. You've got to be really careful. He wouldn't put pressure, like he wouldn't weight bear. If you weight bear like through his legs, he would scream and you'd actually have to like straighten his legs to do that. And he would just scream in pain. And I was like, something's kind of up with this. I don't really like this. And I went to my GP and I was like, maybe it's just hip dysplasia, which is pretty common. It's not totally rare or anything, and you can fix it fairly easily. So I went to the GP, got the hip x-ray. The hip x-ray was clear. Then we went back to the maternal child health and she was like, oh, no, it's basically 12 months old. Now, I don't know about you guys and kids, but there's a lot of development going on between 6 or 8 to 12 months. They're typically walking around 12 months. They're definitely crawling before then. They're rolling, eating different types of foods, all that kind of thing. And he wasn't doing any of that. Still very happy, still very chill and still quite chunky. So to maternal child health nurse, he was doing quite well. And so I went to our GP and I was like, something's wrong. Went to paid privately to go to a pediatrician because the wait list near me is 18 months to see a pediatrician, which is pretty common, unfortunately. So I paid privately, went and saw a private pediatrician, and she said he's got global developmental delay, which just means that he's delayed in more than 2 areas. So gross motor is like fine and gross motor, and he didn't have any speech.
Was anyone sort of helping you navigate all this, or you're doing all this as an 18-year-old? It sounds horrific.
Yeah, so I was doing it all by myself, basically. So my
as an 18-year-old,
yeah, my ex-husband's a few years older than me, and he was in and out of jobs trying to work, and I was trying to work throughout this period as well, just being an 18-year-old sort of. I was living at my mum's, but we all paid fair share, so it wasn't like I got free board and all of that. We paid for our own food, our own electricity, all of our own things, car, etc. So, yeah, I was trying to do all this by myself, and then I had him in. My friend looked after him for a couple of days a week, so I could work. I studied and worked at the same time, and then got the job in aged care. And then the pediatrician, said that basically she was great. She sent us to every single place you could think of, audiology, cardiology, neurology, different blood tests, very basic genetic testing. And so we kind of, when you get a specialist appointment, you just get sent a date. That's just kind of how it works. Wherever you are on the category and like list is sort of when you get seen. So I ended up having a full-time contract at my work, and that got taken off me because I had to keep taking time off sort of sporadically at the last minute to go to these appointments. But every single test we did came back inconclusive. So he could hear, he could see, to what they could understand. They couldn't tell he had any physical issues, even though he couldn't weight bear, couldn't sit, couldn't roll, couldn't eat anything but puree. And so even the MRI, I remember the day we went in for the MRI, you've got to sedate little kids because they don't understand to lay really still. And I don't know if you've been in an MRI machine, but it's quite scary anyway. So we had him sedated, just like a full-on general anesthetic. And it came back that that was inconclusive too. And that was, whilst this sounds funny, I was so devastated that we didn't have an answer because we'd been through probably 12 months of every single test you could think of and still no answers. And then I went back to the maternal child health again, and then I went back to my GP and they still said, we don't know what's wrong. There's nothing more that we can do. And so I had this little, how old was he then? It was before he was 2 years old, and he still couldn't sit, couldn't roll, couldn't talk, couldn't eat anything but puree. He was gaining weight though, and he was sleeping like 20 hours a day. He had low iron. That's the only thing that we found out, but that didn't cause anything else. And so I'd already started physio through connections through people, and was paying privately for that. And let me tell you, therapy is expensive. So we were doing all of that as much as possible. It was like, I think it was $160 an hour back then. And I had private health, but you use it up really quickly. And so it was a really difficult, sort of strange time. And then I was like, on Dr. Google, like, what else can you do past this? Like, what do you do once you have done all the tests you can and there's nothing else, but there's still something clearly wrong? And he looks normal. And I say that, and I don't mean to offend anyone, but because he looks normal, no one sort of wanted to go any further with anything because he didn't have any traits, or what they call it in genetics as dysmorphic features. For example,
people start thinking that maybe you had the problem, not your son. Like, were they starting to think, well, hang on, Maya, you're the issue here. I mean, your son's fine. Maybe you need to go see someone.
No, thankfully. It was more the fact that, like, people could clearly tell that there was something, like, developmentally wrong. I did get the whole, you were 18, you did something wrong when you were pregnant, whether, I drank or didn't take supplements, or, or even worse, like I did drugs during my pregnancy or something like that. And people really looked down at me for being 18 and pregnant regardless. And it was really tough on me, and then really tough on Brendan as well, because we were such a young couple and such a young family that people didn't really understand, like, how this could happen to a child if you've done everything right. So thankfully on Dr. Google came up with genetic testing, which has really sort of come up a lot and is expanding greatly. And so I went to my GP, who trusted me wholeheartedly, and I said, I want a referral to a geneticist at the Royal Children's Hospital. We weren't even at that hospital, but I was like, I want to go there. I want the best genetic testing you can get publicly, or I'll pay for it somehow if I have to, and that's about $5,000 or more. I didn't have to pay for it, thankfully. And so we got this referral, and I went to genetics, and you do a thing called whole exome sequencing. Back then, they sequenced about 3,000 different genes that were known to cause different diseases as such, and had different mutations that caused pathogenic problem. And so I got an appointment pretty much almost straight away, because I asked to be put on the cancellation list. And again, my job, they were pretty much like done with me at that stage. I was still working casually, but working full time just because they needed people. And so I took Lloyd into that appointment, and again, I had to advocate really hard. I was 19 at that stage. And I was like, look, I want this testing. I've done this and this and this, and listed a whole bunch of things, every single test we had done. And she was like, oh, look, I don't think he matches the criteria. And they only have a certain amount of funding to be able to do the testing because it's so expensive. Where did Mark go?
Did Mark disappear? I think they're having problems in the studio. I think he's cancelled himself out. So what happened then? What happened with the testing? How did you go with the actual testing?
Yeah, so we did. So I had to advocate, and then she was like, "No, I'm not going to do it." And so I was like, still like advocating really hard, and I was like, "I want to do this. This is the last thing that we've got to do. We need something for my child, because I can't keep paying for therapy. I need help. I'm losing my job. My ex lost his job. Like, it was just like, what else are you going to do when every single medical test comes back inconclusive, that there's nothing wrong, but there's something significantly wrong with him, whilst he's beautiful and happy and, growing well. So she said, look, what do you think he has then? Which is not a very nice question from a doctor. No. And I turned around and I said, I think he has GAND. I think he has GATABD2, which is a gene on the chromosome 1. Because I had researched probably a couple hundred of the different genes that could cause a disease, just very briefly kind of matching different symptoms. And I talked to other parents, and this was my mission. So I was very much on it. And so she thought that was like, she was pretty gobsmacked at that answer. So she was like, look, go get bloods done, go get photos done, and we will take it to our meeting. We'll take it to where all the geneticists meet at the end of the week, and we'll talk about it. But that's as much as I can offer you right now, which is really lovely. Like, don't get me wrong, absolutely lovely. But I understand like the constraints around, you know, budget and how much they can actually spend and finding a diagnosis.
Yeah.
So then I felt what was like almost a useless appointment. And then we went and got bloods done anyway. And Lloyd was almost 2. And then I did this all by myself again. I didn't have my partner there or anything because he had to work or whatever he was doing. And then a week or 2 later, she rang me and said, yep, we're going to put him up for testing. We think he has A, B, and C. So they just picked 3 different more common rare genetic conditions. And they're like, we think he meets those. We'll test him. Testing's going to take 6 to 8 months. I was like, cool, no worries. We can do that. We've been waiting this long. And in the meantime, I must have been really early pregnant with my daughter then. So I was probably about 4 weeks. So we were trying for another one. And again, there'd been a bit of chatter like, do we go again? Do we not? Because we don't know what he has. We don't know like if it's genetic. We don't know if we carry it, you know, all that sort of thing. And so then we went into the appointment in December, 17th of December, 2019. And she goes, yeah, we got something back. I had done a lot of research in between this, like a lot. And I said, you know, what's come up? And she said IQsec2, which is the gene. And so you pretty much get told there's some kind of mutation on that gene or some gene change on that gene. You don't really get told much else. And you just get like a laboratory report. And she tried to explain it to me. And I'm quite biology and science minded. Like that's kind of my thing. And so I had already connected with a parent that had been diagnosed 1 month before us. And there was only approximately 12 in Australia. So just coincidentally, I had already talked to a mum because our boys were so similar and they're 1 year apart. So he's 1 year older. They got diagnosed at a different hospital. I got offered, she told me what the gene was and pretty much said, that's it, bye. That's all we got. So, and then I was also 26 weeks pregnant. So the other thing before bye was I didn't know if I was a carrier or not. So back when we got testing, it's called a single whole exome sequencing, meaning that only Lloyd got tested. And now they do a trio where they test mum, dad, and the baby or the child, because then they can find out at the same time if they find something whether you are a carrier. And because it's on the X chromosome, that means I give it to Lloyd. And like when we created him. And
how are you, Maya? How are you feeling at this point? I mean, you know, you've gone through this amazing, you know, it's an incredible story of resilience and I mean, in terms of you managing this, it's just unbelievable. But now you're pregnant, you might have to go through it all again. I mean, what's going through your mind and what's happening in your life? I mean, how are you coping? I suppose that's the big question we've all got is how are you personally coping during this time, you know?
Yeah, it's really hard. I think when you're so like it's hard to describe when you're going through such a journey that is the difference, like the answer can make such a difference to your life, to your child's life, your life, everything can change within an instant. So I think I was so focused on just getting a diagnosis or finding out what was wrong, even before I was like obviously pregnant, that like with my second, that I was devastated as soon as we got the global developmental delay diagnosis. It's more a placeholder. It just basically sums up their developmental milestones in a phrase. Because I was like, I'm doing something wrong. And that was probably my biggest problem, was that I thought I'd done something wrong. I was like, maybe I shouldn't have eaten the ham when they said don't eat cold meat, or maybe I shouldn't have had McDonald's soft serve. Like there's so much stuff on pregnant women, especially these days. Like there's so much that you can and can't do, and society doesn't like you doing this and you shouldn't do that. And there's just so many constraints. And again, that's where the single mum thing came in as well. And I was working 40-hour weeks, traveling 2 to 4 hours a day to get there. I was doing so much as well. And people were like, oh, you worked too much. You did too much stuff. And so I was definitely relieved at the fact it wasn't me. So that was nice. But I was so determined to find what was wrong that like it really hit me once we got the diagnosis on the way home. That's after 2 years of finding a diagnosis, spending a lot of money, doing a lot of things. And on the way home, and I had to go into that appointment by myself. I can't remember, I was 26 or 28 weeks
So
pregnant.
there's no one came to the rescue of you and sort of helped you through this. You still did this, it sounds like a long period of time, must felt like eternity. So you worked out the diagnosis and actually getting through this thing. I mean, Julio and I both had kids, and I don't think we could imagine what it would be like going through what you've been through. And we both had wives and that to help us through that. But you're doing this as an 18-year-old all by yourself. It's quite amazing, really.
Thank you. Well, I've got I have a great community around me, so I want to appreciate that. And so my parents, I talked to both my parents. I wasn't living with my mum most of this time. Like, we'd moved out because Brennan and I were together. Brennan tried, but I think it's very different for dads, and you would probably say this, it's so different, where I'm pretty open to talking to people. It doesn't have to be about my feelings, but it's like, oh, this doctor said this, and like, this is where I want to go, and how, or advice even, I had friends, older friends with kids, like, should they be doing this now? Should he be sitting, or should we wait a bit? I'm pretty happy talking, as you can tell, where Brennan isn't a talker. To me, yes, and to guys he knows very well. So, I mean, I want to acknowledge that it's so different from mum and dad. It is.
Could I suggest that maybe talking has really helped you get through? I mean, is that something that maybe because you've been a bit verbal about it all, that sort of helped you express rather than keep it all in? Maybe that's helped you out, you reckon?
Yeah, and so that's well, I also work for a not-for-profit that has to do with
we'll have to talk a bit about that. But talking about talking, I mean, Julio has said nothing. So we need to get him into the show, and hopefully you talking is encouraging Julio in his talking. Are you feeling a bit encouraged to talk, Julio?
I'm in favor, actually, but I find it pretty hard with you, Mark, just to talk, because you're a big man there, just sitting there taking on the subject. So I just sit back and relax and listen to the good conversation.
Well, we've obviously had some real technical issues here tonight, and we've got the tech man there, but he's been pretty quiet. And I've got my old mate Paul, which I'm going to hand over to Paul, because here he is. He's here, and I'm going to hand over to him now, and I'm going to set up in the other studio. But I tell you what, Maya, it's great having you on the show. This has been an incredible story, and I'm still thinking about what the lesson is here for Julio. I don't know whether our listeners have got a lesson for Julio that they can share on the screen. We want to hear from you tonight, obviously, Julio. What would be the lesson for Julio? We've already got one, that we need to get him more verbal and get him talking. The other thing we've learned for Julio tonight is that being undiagnosed. And, I still don't think we've diagnosed why we've got so many technical issues. So we need to diagnose that, because these undiagnosed illnesses that we've got in the show are really hampering us. And as a sort of a single producer here, or a single announcer, I'm finding it really tough. It's a tough road when you got no support. And so there are two lessons I've got out of it. I'm going to hand over to my old mate Paul to see what he's got to say. He wants to go for a break, but unfortunately, when he goes for a break, Julio and I got to run the show. So hopefully, he can give me 1 minute to get myself set up in the other studio, so we can actually go for a break. So we want to get some special comments from Paul before we go for a break. Okay, we're not going for a break there. How do you do it?
No.
You're still on.
I'm still on.
Yeah, you're still
Julio, over to you, mate.
Perfect. All right, I'm going to just disconnect these guys because they're making a bit of mess down there. So, Maya, I've got a couple of questions for you. One, you said you're 18 when you got pregnant with your son.
And I was technically 17, but yeah, I had him at 18.
Okay, so you just basically into the 18 market. How traumatic was it, the pregnancy? Was it just normal pregnancy? Everything was going as normal? No actual issues?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a heart condition, so it was a little bit high risk, as in I was monitored a little bit more. But essentially, so you've got kids.
Yes.
Pretty standard pregnancy, I had severe morning sickness, but other than that, I had a bit of a vomiting routine as such, because I was so sick. But other than that, totally fine. Growing fine, measured fine. All the doctors thought I was absolutely fine. Delivered fine, mostly. I mean, it was very painful, but it was fine. Fine for Lloyd anyway. Totally fine. Didn't have any clues at all.
Okay, so it all basically just happened. You started noticing more things as your son started growing and you noticed some effects of the actual, what changes in behavior or more changes in that you saw that weren't normal to other children that you at the same time?
Yeah, so behavior wise, he's honestly, even now, still like the most chill little kid ever. But yeah, just, you know, and like you get so excited when they're gonna like, they're gonna roll, or they start getting up on all fours, and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is so exciting. Or even when they're really tiny and they start knowing your voice a bit more and they're looking at you a bit more and they're moving and they're grabbing toys or they're slobbering on everything, or, you know, you can't have anything, you have to baby proof your house. And like, you know, you can't have like little trinkets around and you can't have things that they can reach. I didn't have to baby proof until my second child because Lloyd didn't care. He didn't want to touch anything or grab anything. He was just happy to chill there. He honestly, it was really great. Like, don't get me wrong, my second one definitely made up for it. Because it was like being a whole new mum again. But I was like so chill. I thought I was doing such a great job, being a little bit naive there. But he just, you wouldn't know. And even like now, if you came into my house and you saw him sitting on the couch, you wouldn't have any idea that there was anything wrong with him until you tried to speak to him, or until like you asked him to move because he like wouldn't understand you. Or he did like a pterodactyl. We call him the pterodactyl sometimes because he does cute little like pterodactyl sounds because he doesn't talk. So you wouldn't have any idea looking at him that something's wrong. And his behavior is so chill. Like, he's so beautiful. But there's a lot going on that food. Yeah, there would be. Yes.
So with studies, how does that affect it with your studies? Like going ahead with your, like you said, you were studying. Does that affect it a lot?
And then I finished that, and then I worked in that, and then when Elsie was born in Feb 2020, end of Feb 2020, she was born. Then I turned 21 in the March 2020, and then it was lockdown. So it was perfect timing. And then when she was 6 months old, I started Diploma of Health Science. I still did this full time. And then I went into my second year of a Bachelor of Health Science, and Lottie was in prep by that stage. So that, no, not prep, kinder, sorry. And Elsie went to daycare, and I just continued. And then my marriage completely broke down then. So I still studied then. I guess studying was for me though. Like, that was my bit of me back, if you know what I mean. So I worked at Super Cheap Auto too. So I worked there and study and then had the kids. So I like doing a lot of things. I get very bored very easily. I was also diagnosed with ADHD a couple of years ago. No surprise. But I like studying, and I initially got into a Bachelor of Exercise Science with a major in prosthetics and orthotics when I turned after year 12. So I was 17 in year 12. So at the end, just before I got pregnant with Lloydie, I got into uni then, but I postponed it as such. But so then I went back into studying, and I'm still studying now. I did my bachelor, my honours at the University of Melbourne. So I just keep, I don't know what to do without it now, you know? Like, I've just sort of been.
Okay, Maya. Well, I'm back, and I'm coming to check on you two on the show 98.9 Northwest FM. It's the Paul, Mark, and the tech guy, and of course we've got Maya here. And Maya, now what has Julio learnt while I've been away? We had 2 learnings. Have you got a third learning? Julio, have you got anything else you've learnt while I've been away? Because I mean, obviously you weren't learning much while I was here, so I'm hoping you've learned a lot while I've gone.
I have. I've learned that basically Maya's a really interesting person, that she actually has gone through a lot, and she had a really good start to begin with, because apparently her child was fantastic until the second one came and she learned how to actually be a mother. So on my case, that I was in a different world. I was in the military, so I never saw my kids when they were born. Basically, I was always away, always somewhere different. And sometimes the stories I heard, I was sort of glad I was away, because it seemed like it was a bit of a nightmare, especially for my wife and my ex-wife, and what she had to go through and stuff like that. So, but when I was there all the time, just wanted to hug them and play around with them. And
so you're the cool dad. You got the cool dad.
I was the cool dad, yeah. I was the one with presents and toys and stuff.
Now, we can hear more about Maya, because she's got a lot to tell, and it's good that Tina said g'day to everyone. We want to have people saying g'day, and we certainly want to keep hearing, want to build up all these stories, all these lessons for Julio tonight, because tonight is about helping Julio out, and fully, yep, he fixes everything every Wednesday, although he's sort of a bit behind schedule tonight.
That's right, yeah.
Now, Maya, have you told everyone that you won an award?
I actually won 2 awards recently.
2 awards. There
Oh,
you
wow,
go.
there you go.
We got an award-winning guest tonight. Now,
Yeah.
Chris, just quickly, what were those awards? Because I think Paul might be joining us soon. But what were the awards?
So the first one was I won the 2024 Young Citizen of the Year for City of Casey, which is where I am. So that's my council.
Good.
Nice.
Yep.
And then I recently just went to an awards night last week before. So I went through Deakin University for uni, and I won the inaugural Kevin Murfitt Disability Inclusion Pathway Award.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's amazing, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Never
Really
won
good
anything
stuff.
in school, like little school, like primary and secondary, but university is treating me well.
So now
Yeah,
you've
that's-
been,
Maybe that's why I stay.
That's
yeah.
fantastic. And Tina's congratulate you. So, Maya, let's get this right. You're a mum of 2 kids, and that's obviously a full-time job being a mother of 2 kids. You're studying to be a scientist or be a doctor or, like a major study.
Researcher, yeah.
Researcher. So it's quite involved study. It's not like, isn't it, Julio? It's a pretty major study what she's doing.
It is.
I'm doing the honours.
You what honours?
Honours, yeah.
Amazing.
Honours. There you go.
So it's your
That's pretty
4th
good,
year.
yeah.
So you do bachelor, and then you've got to get good marks to be able to apply for honours. And I'm doing it at University of Melbourne and doing my research at the Murdoch Children's Research Institute, so even higher.
And this is why you're a full-time mum. You're doing honours and you're at Melbourne University, all right? So that would be enough. I reckon that would really be enough. But not only that, is you work for a charity as well.
Yeah, so I work for, it's called Syndromes Without a Name Australia. So we support, support children and families. We support families of children with undiagnosed or rare genetic conditions like Lloyd. And so we are national, and I kind of have a couple of roles. There's only 2 staff members. We now have a CEO. We didn't have a CEO for 8 months after the founder and CEO had to step down. So I kind of was acting CEO as such for 8 months under heavy guidance from the founder, who is an absolute really good friend of mine, and she's absolutely fantastic. And now I'm sort of admin / community coordinator. I kind of do event coordination, talk to families.
I thought you were doing too much with your degree, your honours at Melbourne University. Then you're telling me you're working for a charity, and
Just
most
part-time.
people would be sleeping by now. Most people would be sleeping, like Julio's already fallen asleep at just doing the study. You let alone being a parent, let alone doing a charity. But not only that, you also run your own business.
Yeah, so my baby business is just over a year old. It's called RareWear, and that was based on my son. So I do adaptive clothing for children with a disability. So I do adaptive swimwear, which is a 1-piece adaptive swimwear that's got zips from shoulder to the wrist, so fully undoes, zip down the middle like a normal swimsuit. There is a zip at the bottom for nappy changes or continence pads, so my son will always be incontinent. Those are little 6-centimeter zips for peg feeding tubes. So my son went through a really hectic last couple of years and now has a peg feeding tube now, so he's thriving. So when we're at the beach, for example, you can't I would have to strip him, or he'd have to be really cold, and he's really sensitive to, his body can't regulate temperature very well. He gets super, super cold. I'll be wearing 1 t-shirt and he'll be wearing 6 layers. And so having those access points were really important. I do pants for zips with ankle foot orthotics, because my ex could stretch over pants. You guys could stretch, the cuffs of chinos, like chino denim pants over these thick, that's a tubey clip as well. So that was to hold his nasal gastric tube.
I don't know when you've got time to do this, and I think Tina's right. You are a powerhouse girl. You're studying, you're a full-time mum, you're working at a charity, you're running your own business, 4 things, and you've also got time to have a life. And so, Maya, I don't know how you, in a sort of very, because we're going to hand over to Paul in a second, in a sort of a statement, how have you managed to do all this? I mean, are you a binomic woman? I mean, superwoman? What is going on?
I'm very lucky that I have a great community around me, like friends, family, people that I work with. And I'm passionate about helping kids with rare genetic conditions or those that are undiagnosed in families, because I don't want them going through and being so isolated and alone like I was. I want to sort of eliminate that as much as possible, connect people where possible, and just help people have a positive quality of life, particularly the kids with rare genetic conditions, because 30% of kids with a rare genetic condition pass away before their 5th birthday.
Wow. Well, that's probably the key motivation for you doing all these things, incredible things. And, we want to get behind, our leaders, our award. 2 awards you've won. So you're an award-winning leader. And we're really, privileged to have you on the show, Paul Markin, the tech guy. We're going to hand over to Paul. He's got the 7 in 7, Julio. So let's bring up that intro to 7 in 7. And Paul will come and join us. And I'll be muting myself, and probably getting out of the studio while Paul takes over. So, Paul, Julio, the intro to the 7 in 7.
There we go, here at 98.9. Hey, it's the top 7 around 7. And I, before the show, by the way, welcome back. I'm here. This is the miracles of radio startup, eh? Hey, Marcus. How you going, tech guy?
I'm doing good.
Sensational. Hey, top 7 around 7. Don't forget, we've got Mark's rant, and I think he's got a triple rant this evening. And also the tech guy coming up just around the corner before 8 o'clock. And before we hand over the reins, I'm just checking the dials there to make sure I can't get any of the fallback, so I'm not too sure how loud I'm coming across. But it's the top 7 around 7, but it's only 6 points. So Maya, I need your assistance. So tonight's top 6 around 7 is coping with an undiagnosed health condition. So the number 1 is what I've got is maintain both optimism and acceptance. So trying to have a positive outlook. So can you talk us through your thoughts around that, Maya? So maintain both optimism and acceptance.
So it's hard to remain positive. I'm not gonna lie about that one. I'd say an action to that point is you have to grieve. Whilst that sounds kind of ridiculous that you're grieving a person that's alive, you need to grieve the child you thought you were going to have. And that's I think that's for every parent, regardless whether you want them to be a basketball player or a footy player or whatever, or you want them to be a doctor. You need to grieve. Particularly in this case. But yeah.
And that takes you through the process of acceptance after that grieving process. Yeah. All right. That's cool. Tech guy, what do you got? You agree?
What have I got? Basically, I agree with that. The other point to probably add to that is that you also need to have something to write good notes to, like in the morning or something like that, just give yourself a bit of a heads up and a positive attitude to how you're going to be dealing with it day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, without a doubt, there's no denial. We need to take that positive slant. But I agree with you, Maya. I think it's really important to go through what it is, and then work through it at the end result. Can you guys hear me? Is it all pretty good? I think we got loud and clear.
Yep.
Cool. Number 2 on our top. Yeah, all pretty good. Number 2 is trust symptoms and experiences. So, Maya, you'd definitely be a testament to that. What do you think?
Absolutely. I always say, trust a mother's gut, trust your instincts. I think if you think something's wrong, it's better getting checked down at being nothing than being something else. If I'd waited an extra 12 months, he might not be learning how to walk now. We might not have the opportunity.
Yep.
Maya, you made a comment just before we started. You said 30% of the young disability pass away before 5.
Yep.
Can you just take us back on that one? Why is that? Like, forgive me for the question, but like, why is it that 30% end up passing on?
Because there's no cures. So Lloyd has a genetic mutation that it's inbuilt in his DNA. There is nothing we can do about it currently. So obviously there's things that they're working on, but there's nothing you can do to cure that. And Lloyd has epilepsy, for example. So there's also a thing called, SIDS for kids, like sudden unexplained, So they have that for epilepsy, and that means any single person that has epilepsy has a chance of SUDEP, SUDEP, sudden unexplained death in epilepsy.
Okay.
Pretty much it's for epilepsy, and so a lot of kids pass away with that as well. There's a whole bunch of other things, but that is definitely one of the majors that I'm concerned about. And yeah, so sometimes it can be nothing. You put him to bed and he can be completely fine, and tomorrow's So it's a big passion of mine, making sure everyone's got a good quality of life, great quality of life as much as possible.
Absolutely. And I think, it's a testament again, Maya, the fact that you're going through, I think we need to be educated as just general population and community needs to be educated about this sort of thing. We're not, and again, I asked the question because I want to know, but it's an obvious answer, isn't it? But it's about education. It's about sharing, communicating and all that sort of thing. So awesome. All right. Number 3, stay organized. So maintaining through medical records, etc. So how do you stay organized through this?
I have to giggle a little bit because mine's a bit ridiculous.
I'm cool to hear it.
I have about 6 calendars.
6.
Yeah, so I have 2 or 3 email calendars. I try and connect them if I can. I've got 2 monthly calendars, like per month. I've got a May and a June at the moment in the kitchen because my mum lives with me now. So, and we have carers and so on. Then I've got a weekly one, and then I've got a paper planner diary thing. And then I've got my phone that I kind of write notes and dates on. So, and then I write things down in another book. So it's a bit, it sounds like a mess, but it's really not. It's coordinated mess.
Yeah, right. Cool. I love it. I love it because, again, you've got your system and your organization set up, the way you want to do it. I mean, I've got paper, I've got books, I've got a phone, so I'm probably close. I'm probably halfway through that. What about you, tech guy? Because you're the tech guy, right? So, or you've just got one organizer?
No, I've got actually 2. I like writing. I love writing. So I got an organizer, but I got a smart pen. So it actually picks up what I'm writing and then puts it into my phone.
Wow, so, that's a good idea.
So basically, tell me about that, mate.
Yeah, and then basically if I really like that note, my phone reminds me, I just highlight it. And now with AI, it knows what I want to highlight. Like it brings up and say, okay, you brought this topic up. Do you want it in your calendar or do you want it in your diary? Or how do you want to do that? So it's pretty cool.
That is really cool. I mean, talk about stay organized. I think we need to introduce Mark to that sort of system because he's got 1,000 things going on, and I think it'd be really nice for him to get into some suitable organization. What do you reckon?
I think he'll break AI, to be quite honest.
It won't work. Could be. So we've just heard that Mark has got a lot of opportunity for organisation. Am I meant to bring Mark in? Okay, hold on a second. Give me 2 seconds. No, that's awesome. So we're talking about the top 6 around 7, coping with an undiagnosed health condition. Number 4, Maya, practice self-care. So talk us through, I guess, the physical and mental health elements and challenges around it. So how does someone practice self-care?
Yeah, so that one took me a long time. Even now, I've got to bring myself back a lot of the time. I see a counselor. I saw a therapist. I see some kind of therapist all the time. It varies how long it is. And that's a form of self-care, just being able to sort of talk to someone that can give you advice, that friends or family. I think it's nice to step away somewhere. But honestly, self-care can be so simple. And I don't mean having a shower by yourself or going to the bathroom by yourself.
Yeah.
That should just be, make that a thing, regardless of whether you're kids. I don't know, eat chocolate in the pantry, but just make it happen. But
well, I've got another one for Julio. A bit of advice for Julio to have showers by himself. I think that could be a good one for you, Julio. Have a shower by yourself, mate.
So you're going to need some downtime. I just want myself at the moment.
Yeah. That's a good one. I like that one for Julio.
Yeah, I sit in my car sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
What was that? Sorry, Maya. What was that?
I sit in my car so I can not to avoid my kids. I love them. But sometimes when you've had a long day, sitting in your car and just finishing off a podcast or scrolling on TikTok for 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Lifesaver.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. And I think it's so important to talk, share, communicate, and just take off that challenge off your heart or off your body, so to speak. And then just tune out. So, but sometimes it's not really accepted by your local community about sort of just taking that time out. See, Mark loves to do his what is it? La Pindara? What is it, Marcus?
Lara
Pinda walk because he wants to get away from me for about a week. So he does that sort of thing weekend away.
1,000 steps. So there's 1,001 steps in Narre Warren, almost Narre Warren North. So not the
Yeah,
furniture gully,
yeah.
big one. That's a
No,
bin.
no.
Okay.
Yeah, I know what you-
Right.
The smaller one, it takes 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I walk fast though. But
So
it's
about
just
10 for you.
yeah, it's very
Sounds like a date there, Maya. I need to practice my steps, and I think 1,000 steps could be good. I need all the practice I can get. So
I'll take it. There's a disability ramp. It's okay.
Yeah, I'll probably need that as well.
All right, sounds good. Awesome. Okay, a couple more there. So number 5 on coping with, let me just bring that back out there, coping with an undiagnosed health condition. Number 5 is stay connected to others. And I think this is really important, Maya, and I'd love to hear from everyone. Maya, staying connected.
Yep. So finding your tribe, as our community says. Mine's syndromes without a name. That is for a lot of people. Some people find it in other groups. I think that's mine. I'm a Facebook person, so Facebook's my thing. I'll message people. I'm on different groups. Like one's a feeding tube group, one's an epilepsy group. Just find someone that you've got something you can connect with. Doesn't matter what it is. And I think just chat. Just what's the worst thing they're going to do? Not reply. Like that's the worst thing that's going to happen. So honestly, just reach out. If they don't reach back, well, you tried. That's it.
Absolutely. Love your attitude, Maya. 98.9 Northwest FM. Paul, Mark, and the Tech Guy. Number 6 on tonight is reach out for support and information. And I know you can certainly slap us with that one because there's lots of support and lots of info, yeah?
Yeah. Google is my best friend.
And Julio, we should put the website of the charity up there because doing a great job, this charity, and a lot of people out there might be relating to what Maya's talking about today, and would want to check it out and support it. I mean,
yeah,
I tell you what an inspirational story, Maya, you've given us today. So yeah, it's a great charity to support.
Thank you.
And for RareWear.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And for RareWear.
Hand in hand.
Have you got anything for Julio in your collection? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, I do kids, so maybe his kids.
Well, Julio's a big kid. Have you got anything in one of those zip up? Show us the zip up thing, Julio, because I reckon you could fit in one of these zip ups. You got one for Julio?
Oh yeah.
Well, the jumper fits my friend. So not though my jumpers fits my friend. He is 53, and he's probably that my size 14 fits me, but it fits my friend who's probably men's medium, and it fits him quite snug. It fits him well.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
That would suit you, Mark.
Yeah. I reckon I'll get you for that for you. I reckon a nice red one like this one will do with the zippers. So, at least you can put some snacks in there, Mark, and then go from there.
I'm liking the zippers, and I think Julio's got a bit of a thing. He loves zippers as well. But how do you come up with the designs and put all these zippers in there?
Well, the jumper, for example, Lloyd hates things going over his head just to be a pain. But the zips, so I keep it zipped until about here, and then I put his arms in so that I don't have to do the weird, awkward, like, when you're dressing a kid, it's just hard if they're not helping you. And Lloyd doesn't help me, even at 6 years old, and he's over half my height. I'm 5'6", and he's over half my height. And so he just kind of like flops. So he'll sit, but he flops. So you're literally like dressing him like this. Like it's a nightmare. So doing something where I can.
That's why Julio likes your clothes, because he's a bit of a flopper, and he loves the zips because he doesn't want anything over his nice head, because his head's sort of shining there. It's a shiny head, and he doesn't want to have anything go over the top of it. He likes it shining. So when he puts his clothes on, he doesn't like doing that because it takes away the shine. So that's why he's doing the zips.
But also, Mark, Maya has assured me before when you were gone that the zipper will fit all this stuff for you. So you can have all this stuff inside that jumper for you. Okay?
I love it. It's a good segue. Before we hit the tech guy segment, it's a good segue for you, Marcus. This is Mark's rant. Go for it, Julio.
Well, I'm all fired up tonight because Maya has told her incredible story. It's an amazing story, and it sort of fits into what I'm ranting about today because, Julio, I don't know how you're feeling, but Maya is only 25 years of age, and she has already mastered study. She's mastered being a parent. She's got her own business. She works for a charity, and she's a success story. Amazing at 25. Now, you and I are a little bit older than 25, and we're nearly broken down. Like, you know, we're struggling. And so
Thank God you
I
didn't
suppose
mention
my
me, mate.
rant today is, how do you cope with people that do so well? Is it sort of like a motivation for us to do better, or is it a discouragement? And I suppose one little example of this, Julio, is I was at my gym today and I had to lift this weight. And I thought, well, you know, with my legs, and I thought, well, I'm going to really push myself and I'm going to put another 5 kilos on it. And I sort of started lifting and I was really struggling with my legs. I thought, gee, this is a good effort, but I'm really struggling. And the next guy comes in and he virtually triples the weight. And I'm looking at him thinking, mate, you look less fit than I am. And he's doing triple the weight. And I'm thinking, well, how am I going to cope with that? And how do you cope with success? Or, you know, like, do you think, okay, that's good for him and I'm doing mine, I'm happy with what I'm doing? Or do you think, oh, gee, you know, I'm not up to it? Or, you know, like, I don't know whether you came across that, Maya, when you had other parents doing so well and you've got some challenges in your life or whatever. But, you know, when I run a charity and I'm thinking, oh, mate, you know, this and that and the different struggles of life. And then you meet other people that just seem to be cruising. Like Julio's a cruiser. You know, he doesn't have any problems in life. And I'm sort of battling away. And so I'm thinking, is it that I need to do better? Or do I just accept my lot in life and accept that Julio is just ahead of me and I've just got to accept that? I mean, what do you think? What do you do when you have people around you
Imposter syndrome, or
you what?
We lost you there.
Imposter syndrome.
Maya? Oh, okay. Imposter syndrome.
Can you hear me?
I like that. Is that what you said? Imposter.
Yeah. I feel that way. Yes, I actually agree. Yes.
Are you calling Julio an imposter?
No. Yeah, I think she's trying to refer to something, Mark. There, that's quite telling about you, the way that you come into the show, and we're just trying to analyze it a bit better for you.
Well, that's gone over my head a little bit there, but I don't know. It's because of our internet. My president of the radio station tells me the internet's fixed, but I'm not sure about that, Paul.
All right. Well, okay, that's your first rant. What's your second rant? We're running out of time.
Just working out where you are in life, whether it's an encouragement where you are, or whether it's a challenge, or it's a discouragement. Just trying to work out where you are when you sort of, you know, really. I suppose the answer is, Maya, is you shouldn't compare yourself, should you?
You shouldn't. It's the whole imposter syndrome thing. I still don't feel like I do enough. But then when you say it like you did, it sounds like too much. So it's a real, like, it's hard. I think it's hard to accept like what you do and how, like, where you want to be or where you should be or where people expect you to be.
But do you take it as a challenge, or do you take it as a discouragement, or how do you take it when, you know, when you're not really sure where you are compared to other people?
I'm so happy. I'm so happy for people, like very, very happy, but so easily like envious. Easily envious. I have to bring myself back down and be like, you're 25, relax. People are, you know, been working their entire life on their organization or their business. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. You know, RareWear's only a year old. I don't even making millions, you know. But you want that, I think. But having that passion, keeping that passion is so important. You know, but just staying level-headed is also important.
Level-headed and checks and balances all the time, Maya, yeah? It's always doing some checks to see where you're at. Is everything okay? Health check, move on. Health check, move on. Right, Mark?
Yeah, that's right, man. You're a really positive guy. How do you cope with, you know, challenges in life where, you know, you feel you can do better and you meet Julio and think, gee, what's Julio got that I haven't got?
I got weights.
He's certainly got 1.5 kg on each hand. So there you go. He's got 3 kilo. Well, I think Julio's a very smart sort of fella and very knowledgeable. And I'm always interested in what Julio has to say, truthfully, because I've known him for a while and tech background's amazing. But I'd say something that Maya brought up a little earlier about, and I probably don't deal with it that well, is grief. So say, for instance, we opened tonight's show. I'm disappointed a little bit because we had this technical issue. And it's not for me, it's for Maya. And I'm bringing it out here large. So this is Paul's rant. It's making sure that Maya gets the best coverage and the best show experience here at 98.9 Northwest FM Paul Mark Show. So, but it's about that sort of post thing. I'll take it away and I'll deal with it and I'll come back and I'm ready to go again. But, you know, that's just what I've always dealt with it. You know, like life's great. You've got some challenges. Life's great. But we make sure we've got to fix it. Julio, we've got to fix this issue. We've got to fix the tech
What
issue,
about
man.
you, Julio?
Oh, it's got to be better.
How do you cope with, you know, this whole different things where, you know, people you feel are doing better and you're struggling, and you know, how do you deal with it?
I'm asking. Oh, Julio. Okay.
Yeah, I've got a bad part of my personality is the fact that I love challenges. I love the fact that I got a challenge in front of me. And I always like to find something good in that challenge. So something I could fix or get on top of stuff like that. Like with the show, I love the way that we've managed the show, what we've done with it, how we've built it up and stuff like that. So that to me is a good example. And every single time we have an error or something happens, I quite enjoy it. I find that I really need something to go wrong, because I think that's the only way I could actually grow.
Fix it.
In whatever.
Well, you've had it in bucket tonight.
Quickly.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I should have said that, Julio. Finding the positive even when it's crappy, right? So Lloyd, for example, I always say this. Lloyd is about 6 months old, cognitively in a wheelchair, peg-fed, non-verbal. List goes on. But his favourite song, or 3 songs, Hell's Bells by AC/DC, and what calms him down is The Unforgiven by Metallica.
Wow.
Ooh.
There you go.
Like, that's so cool.
Yeah, it is.
It is very
really
cool.
good.
Like finding the positive, 100%, Julio. Like you couldn't have said it better. That is.
Yeah, don't give Julio too many raps. He's got a lot to work on. We're trying to help him out here.
That's true. I got a whole thing. I got Mark as an issue. That's a big enough issue.
That's awesome. All right, so what have we got? So it's 7:57. Got a couple more minutes, and it's been great, Maya, chatting with you this evening. You've been on the show, Paul Mark and the Tech Guy, a few blokes having a little bit of fun. But coming up is the Talking Tech with the Tech Guy.
Yes.
Here he is.
Okay. There we go. So one thing that I wanted to bring up today was something I had dramas with this week, and that's basically connectors, especially USB type, micro connectors, and lightning connectors. Now, I'm not sure everybody knows this, but I'm sick and tired of how the industry has decided to make more and more every single time we get a new phone, new device. But this is more of a learning curve for everybody to understand what you're looking at the end of the plug and how to join it up together with what's going on your phone or on your computer. The micro USB drive me nuts, but they're a lot more simpler. But the USB style, the normal type, the 50-50 chance of getting it right, I reckon is wrong. I reckon it's about a 10% chance of getting it right and 90% chance of getting it wrong. The other thing for you is we talked about this, tablets. Now, I love my tablet, and I reckon everybody should get one, especially either a writable that you can put your messages on. And we discussed about this before, about what we do, what we use. And to me, this thing is incredible. Once I got it, I actually loved it. And I do suggest that this is a good tech that people should get involved with. It cuts down on paper, and it also is very useful for sending information, emailing, sending ideas, or even just keeping good records on your phone. So that's the tech rant today, and I hope everybody found that a bit useful.
Did you say, Julio, that these technical things of yours could solve all my problems?
Yeah, I can, for sure. Apart from the ranting. The ranting,
here am I thinking that we're here to solve all your problems, which is, I tell you, is a massive job. But you reckon you can actually help me out as well?
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully, we'll see how you go. Apart from the soundboard. The soundboard, I think we're over and done with that. I think just leave
the soundboard.
Yeah.
Leave it to me. Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
I'll fix
Paul,
that one.
Maya's been a great inspiration tonight. I mean, incredible. At 25 years of age, as I said before, running your own business, being a full-time mum, studying to be a doctor, Dr. Maya, and also working for a charity. I mean, mate, that's not a bad effort, is it?
I think it's a very good effort. Absolutely very good. Hats off to you, Maya.
Thank
And
you
the
for
best
having me.
success.
And
Absolutely,
did you hear,
guys.
mate, that she's won 2 awards as well? She's our award-winning guest tonight. So fantastic, Maya.
Absolutely. Now, can we just throw up Maya's website for the clothing? I think it's really important that we RareWear. All right, perfect. And also the Facebook page, beautiful. Because you like Facebook, Maya. I do remember you saying that.
And the charity, Maya, we have to support your charity, of course. Yeah,
yes.
Beautiful, well done, Julio. And
beautiful.
And also, we've got a reminder that Julio fixes everything on a Wednesday night. So we're going to have a break for a few weeks, and we're going to give Julio the challenge of fixing all our technical issues so that when we come back after our break, Julio, we're not going to have any technical issues whatsoever.
Okay. That's a good challenge. I'll try with that one. That'll be good.
Great challenge ahead. I think hopefully it'll be all sorted. But no, it's been sensational. You can always check out the post-show on our Facebook page, Paul Marketing Tech Guy, also Community Heart. YouTube, we're on YouTube as well, and that's actually live streaming right now as we speak. So you can come back and check out Maya's story. Thank you so much, Maya, for being with us tonight, and apologies about the start. But it is Melbourne, and what do we do with Melbourne? We just put on another sunny day tomorrow morning. So wish you well. What's happening for the rest of the week for you, Maya? What do you got planned? Anything accepting another award or anything sort of different?
First, I'd like to say thank you so much for having me, and it was great to meet Mark and have this opportunity. For the rest of the week, no, just mum, more study, and I'm on a few different advisory councils, so I've got a couple of them, but just your average kind of stuff for me.
Nothing's average about your world, Maya. I mean, now you're even telling us you're on advisory groups as well. So how many hours a night do you sleep?
A few.
Maybe she doesn't sleep all day.
My son's on the bus by 7 a.m. So I'm up at 6, but I'm usually up at 5.
Wow.
Okay, there you go.
Don't take this personally, Julio, but I reckon Maya could teach you a few things, mate.
She can, yeah.
Teach me some tech things, and we can work it out.
Oh, cool. Okay, that sounds good.
Absolutely. That's some really good tech stuff there. Tech Guy, really quickly, what's up your week? And Marcus, just a quick roundup for you two, and then we'll need to say goodnight because we've got music on the hour coming up in a couple of seconds.
Yeah, well, my week was going to be training Mark, but Mark decided to leave me all alone again, like normal. I'm in Warrandyte all by myself. And then after that, Yeah,
go on, mate. I was just going to say one more. What date is the Larapinda exercise, the event?
24th of July. We're walking Larapinda. So I've got to start my training soon. I thought I was going to try it this week, but it's been delayed till next week. And could be going the week after. But the Larapinda, that's going to be amazing to walk in, but I'll be stuffed, to be honest. So I don't know I'm enjoying much of it.
And Marcus, good on you, mate. Quick wrap up.
Paul, our old mate Matty has given us a message. We love Matt, and he said it was a great show. Congratulations, Maya, on your achievements in life so far. Kicking goals. Certainly as your son has a good taste in music, by the way, AC/DC and Metallica. So great comment there by Matty. Thank you, Matty.
Matty.
Yes. And, we love Matty and we love Maya now. We've got 2 new friends of the show. Again, apologies, Maya, for our technical problems today. We actually, believe it or not, we changed studios halfway through the show. But there you go.
We did. That's show business, mate. Show business.
That's it.
Well, well done, guys. Thank you so much. We'll be back in 2 weeks, give or take. I think it's around about the 5th or 6th of June. We're going away for a couple of weeks, but thank you for everyone jumping on, and obviously at 989 Land, and also via the Facebook page, YouTube. Thank you for our comments and interactions, guys. Tech Guy, fantastic. Marcus and Maya, all the best. Thank you, and look forward to seeing you next time here in the Paul Marketing Tech Guy. Lots more coming your way. Stick around at 98.9 Northwest FM because we've got music on the hour, plus lots more good stuff here at 98.9 Northwest FM.
Cheers.